The series, interestingly, poised at 1-all. India won the first ODI, and then West Indies clawed their way back into the series with a 6 wickets win to take it to the decider. Now, we have gone truly global because we've got Somesh joining in from Amsterdam, and we've also got Nikhil to talk about what we expect to be an interesting India 11. Now, West Indies have won the toss and they've opted to bowl first. They retain the same lineup. What India does, quick take, Nikhil. What do you expect India to do versus what you think India should do? Kohli, Rohit, rested or not?
Yeah, I think we'll anyways know in a few seconds. But going
Yeah, I
from what
mean,
we see with
yeah,
Hardik
both
captain,
yeah,
yeah,
both are rested. So
yeah,
India, neither of them are playing.
which is good, which is how you expected it to be and how it is. So it is good.
All right, you in one line summarize your take on the same topic. Somesh, we come to you. Is it brave of India to back what it thinks is right versus not giving into the clamor that ensued on social media?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine because at the end of the day, all of us have been discussing this for a while that India, I mean, they talk a lot, but they need to walk the talk and not opting to play either Rohit and Virat is walking the talk in this situation because they are sticking with the players whom they want to give it a chance at the cost of maybe losing this series. Because, I mean, let's be fair, right? Even with Virat and Rohit not
Yeah.
there, this side should be winning the games against
Hmm.
West Indies. In all honesty, so I mean, it's good that they are sticking with it. I mean, I'm not 100% comfortable with Virat and Rohit not playing this series entirely because I mean, let's be fair, it's not like they have not been. I mean, it's not like they are in great form anyway. But now that they have not been not no, they didn't come out to bat in the first game. But didn't play in the second game. It would have been a defensive move to bring them back in. So
Absolutely.
from an overarching perspective, I was not comfortable with the call in the first place. But now, since they took it, it's fine.
You reconcile to it. Now, Nikhil, of course, India did talk, I mean, walk the talk like Somesh just mentioned, but probably India is in that situation where it needs players like Suryakumar Yadav and Sanju Samson to actually do well because of how we stand when it comes to injuries.
Yes,
There's
and
that
also
desperation.
India have also made two changes, which again will give us a good idea that they have Gaikwad in today.
Yeah.
So uh, as unfortunate as it is, Aksar experiment last one game, but it's fine. I think it was on the cards. So that is done, and they have also replaced Umran Malik with Jaydev Unadkat. So I think there is another opportunity for two guys to make a mark. But as you rightly said, a lot still does depend a lot on Surya Kumar Yadav, Samson, and Hardik also to score because that's where the issues have been for India. And it's not forced. I mean, it is forced by injuries. So
Yeah.
they have got 3 games in a row now. Sky at least. Hopefully, Sky batting first. I think the role is fixed that he will bat in the lower order. So hopefully, the openers and the number 3 can give them a good base for Hardik and Surya to have a good time because Hardik also needs a lot of runs under his belt.
Absolutely. He did have 2 months rest and then post the IPL. He mentioned about him being a turtle right now, not a rabbit, but that was more in the context of his bowling. But as a batter, certainly India would want more from Hardik Somesh.
Absolutely. I think at this point of time, if you talk about the ODI team or the T20 team, Hardik is one player who is selected on the base of reputation. Because if you throw a net wide enough to cover the entire country, everyone knows, and I'm pretty sure Hardik himself knows that he's the one of a kind player. There is absolutely no replacement for Hardik Pandya, and which means that the the rope that Hardik Pandya will get is going to be way longer than anyone else. Because let's be fair, it's not like that he had a great IPL,
Yeah.
although he is deservingly India's T20 captain and a future white ball captain in the making. But yeah, I mean, India would want him to, the thing is, given due to his workload, he will not be bowling a lot. So
Hmm.
that puts an edit, responsibility on him to chip with the bat. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's where I feel that, yeah, I mean, Hardik Pandya, the batter, I mean, obviously he himself would know that more than anyone else, that as a batter, he needs to chip in since he's sort of constrained in the other aspect of his game.
Hmm. 9.4 overs across two ODIs. But we were discussing, Nikhil, after the last game as well, that probably Hardik bowled more than we here at cricket.com wanted him to, because, of course, Akshar bowled just 2 overs there. And probably a Jose Mourinho fan there, because Pony and, little Pony at the moment would be horses later next season. And, of course, for India, it's the World Cup when he would want to be at his best. Meanwhile, there's a comment, Rajay Human says that in the third ODI, we want again Rohit Kohli rest because match not important. I mean, there's at least someone who's on the side of the management and agreeing with the decision that they've taken. And he's also added, why not Sky as an opener, like a Green for Australia and Roy Bairstow for England, Rohit as middle order finisher, more important. Probably he liked how Rohit came at number 7 in the first ODI and wants to get even more experimental. I mean, Nikhil is already giggling at the idea, because that would be too crazy. We've seen a lot of experiments, but this like caps it all.
No, I think it is maybe 2 years late to try that option of pushing him in the lower order. We also saw him play a very, very good knock against Bangladesh, where lower down the order. So it's not that he can't do it there, but I think pushing anybody else to open, you already have a lot of openers. So I
Yeah.
don't think there is a question of trying to replace another guy and pushing him into the opening spot. So I think the lower order role is where Sky is. But I also think they are pushing his case a lot. They want him to come good because of his T20 exploits, and they feel that with that extra fielder in during those middle overs, he could make the most of that. So very keen to see if he gets the runs, because otherwise, if the two are fit, Sky will
Yeah.
eventually walk out on the side. So yeah, runs are critical, and yeah, I think Ruturaj ke liye bhi it's a very important chance, because it means Samson now bats at 4.
Yeah.
So good game for in a way you are actually auditioning for the right spots now. Samson at 4, Hardik at 5, and Surya at 6. So it is as good a middle order as you may want to on paper at least.
Hmm. Sagar, thinking of course about Paji, who must be pissed that Akshar has been replaced with Rituraj. Not a like for like replacement for sure, but we were talking about top order heavy options that India has at the moment. Rituraj. Now, Somesh, today, if Rituraj scores, say, a century, it's all hypothetical, but if he scores really well, what answers do India carry from here?
See, Ruturaj Gaikwad is the captain of India in the Asian Games. So, anyways, he won't be playing in the World Cup. So, to be honest, this replacement doesn't make sense to me, because not a lot to gain. The only thing is because Rituraj has been, India have been carrying Rituraj around all this while. So at some point of time, even the management, I mean, there is a human angle to it, right? You're bound to feel for someone that let's give him a chance as well. He has been around for a while now. But apart from that, there is no logical sense to this, because Rituraj, I mean, anyone would be playing out of position. If Rituraj opens, then either of Gill or Kishan would have to play out of position. Honestly, if you ask me, I would really want Rituraj, if they've played him, play him as an opener and push Kishan in the middle order. Because see, the point is, Kishan is
Agree.
already logged for the World Cup. He's a reserve opener. Now,
Yeah.
what really India would want to do is try to be prepared for a scenario if KL Rahul does not recover for the World Cup. Samson failed in the last game. Let's say he fails again today. You would at least want to give Kishan some sort of, you know, game time in the middle order, because if push comes to shove and KL is not fit, then you would need some wicketkeeper in the middle order. So let's see. I mean, I don't foresee that happening, which is fine as well, because again, it's like two sides of the argument.
Yeah.
I hope Samson clicks, because for some reason I feel Samson is a very important cog in the wheel for India looking at the World Cup. Again, the same point of KL Rahul is unfit. So it's a very important game for Samson, because going by the comments from the management, they are still going to persist with Sky no matter what happens today. But for Samson, it's a very important game. And I think that Akshar Patel experiment of trying him as a batter has ended after one game for sure. So I don't see that happening again. So yeah, that's about it.
And you are leading me to my next point, which is Rituraj in, probably because at some point management also has to narrow its focus and think about this third ODI where the series is at stake. And considering how fragile Indian batting has been in the first two ODIs, India needed someone of repute, of runs, to actually strengthen the batting order. Nikhil?
Yeah, I think as Somesh said, it is more about giving people enough chances. It's what they've done with Mukesh as well. Mukesh is part of the Asian Games squad. There is very little chance of him making to the World Cup squad, but he's getting games because he's been with the team for a while now. So, as some point rightly pointed out, that it is a tendency for people that if you are on tours, long tours, you tend to give people a cap or an extra game because they've been part of the setup for enough while. And it's not that Gaikwad will not get his chances later, but uh, there is a lot at stake for everybody involved, even for Gaikwad, even for somebody like a Gill who's had small starts but hasn't made it big. And in the game so far, the openers have shown that they have in it to build a big score, but they haven't got the big score yet. So this game, as per the pitch report as well, it is supposed to be better. So again, we can only rely on it as much as we want to. So hopefully a good batting wicket so that everything falls to place for India in terms of what all they want to try out in the batting department.
And when we talk about Shubman Gill and assess his form, of course, it has been a story of two halves, and there are two contexts to it. One is start of the year, he scored heaps of runs, including the IPL, and then, of course, form kind of deserted him. And otherwise, also, if we look at it from the point of view of conditions, in Indian conditions, he has been scoring runs. So, of course, important for him to carry that confidence. But then again, having said that, Somesh, I'd try and draw your attention to the weakness that has surfaced here, and that's the incoming delivery.
I mean, it's not surface now; it has been there for a while. I think.
Right.
See, I mean, obviously, Gill himself would know about it. I'm more worried about Indian players getting out to spin because at the end of the day, we are looking at a top six, which will include righties from 1 to 6. So, I mean, I don't want India to be easy target of the opposition where they just field a leg spinner and left arm spinner, and all of them are sort of curtailed in run scoring. So that's a bigger worry as far as I look at things. And again, to this point, I'm just hoping that Shreyas Iyer gets fit because he's that one player who can take spin down. To be honest, Gill is a very good player of spin as well, unless and until it's raising turners with a red ball. I think in white ball, we've seen him counter spin really well. I remember one IPL game, I think that was in 2022 when he took down Aksar. So we've seen Gill dominating left arm spin in the past. He got out to left arm spin in the last game. But let's see. I mean, I don't think Gill is a worry. I mean, to just put it there. I mean, Gill is a logged, and we should not worry about Shubman Gill at the moment. India have other worries, and Gill is not one of them.
And plenty of them. But then, kind of circular in our conversation. But then, I'd again get back to Sanju Samson. Like we mentioned, that India shouldn't get intimidated looking at a spin. And also, the World Cup is to be held in India. You'd expect the surfaces to turn. So, then, considering that, Sanju Samson becomes even more important. His game against spin is pretty solid. Nikhil.
Yeah, I think he will be critical, but as Som said, if see the thing here is all these runs, whatever they get here, is going to be a good backup to rely on because your first choice are going to be Shreyas and KL, and both Shreyas and KL have shown enough, uh, enough in terms of this format that you can trust them to combat any situation, and which is a good sign to rely on. But as we've been talking about in all the live so far, they are going to come back from injury, so they may not be able to hit the rhythm immediately. So in that scenario, if you have somebody like a Samson who's been scoring runs consistently, then it helps the team management in terms of not get into a panic mode that okay, we don't have a replacement who's in form. So Sanju getting runs here is very, very critical because then he acts as a backup keeper as well. As Home said, uh, Kishan in the middle order. Again, if it was not the case of him opening, then I'm sure they would have tried him in the middle order. But if they have kept him to open, I hope they don't move that spot now because then I think it will be too much to then expect of Kishan as well, that to not have any game time there and then suddenly just bat in the middle order.
Okay, so Nikhil, given you've said this, and I completely agree to that point. Now, imagine a scenario where KL Rahul is not fit for the World Cup. Samson has not done reasonably enough in the chances that he has received to be able to qualify for that squad itself. Then how would you make an Indian lineup? Would you ask anyone of Gill
Come
or
back
Rohit
to Somesh. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you then ask Gill or Rohit to
All right.
bat
So
in the
we
mid order?
come back and take, but
I think we've lost. There is some uh, not typical, but from typical Bangalore weather not helping
Yeah. So
with
I
the
think
internet.
Nikhil can hear
Yeah.
me. That's fine.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if Samson is not fit or is not like scoring runs and one of the two, that is Shreyas or Kale, is not fit, uh, it is just me, but I'll push Aksar into that setup because then it will allow them to rotate in terms of keep the floaters ready to combat spin or pace. You get an extra bowling option. And if you don't want to bat Aksar that high, I would actually push Hardik in that spot
Okay,
because
but then
Hardik
how
is
would you what I mean that's fine, but that means either of Rohit or Gill have I mean Rohit won't miss out, then Gill have to miss out, right? Because the point is you'd have to play one keeper. So Kishan is then your keeper.
yeah, that is as unfortunate or however it may be sound. But my only point is Kishan should not directly bat in the middle order only during the World Cup. If you
Yeah,
have
that's true. Yeah.
any hint of it of Kale not making it in time, then be it Asia Cup or the Australia ODIs, you have to push Kishan in the middle order.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Or
it
or
makes
else
no
or
sense.
else have Gill or Rohit play at four so that I mean whoever is gonna play at four is ready.
Yeah. So I don't think Gill or Rohit are going to play at four. Let's get this out of the system. I
Yeah.
think it'll either be Samson who gets a chance then, or Kishan comes in the middle order, and that will be a sign for us that this is what the management is looking at. In case one of KL, in case of course it's about KL only. So in case KL is not fit.
Yeah. I mean Raja Human in the comment section is saying Ishan at three, so which would move the greatest ever number three in ODI cricket to four. I mean that is also not
Yeah.
ideal, right?
Yeah, I think it's very critical to not pick something that is not broken. I mean,
Yeah.
it is working well. You have
Hmm.
enough spots for the opening slot. Let the top three be the top three. This
Hmm.
is see the point is you have to look at very objectively also. When we say we don't want experiments, then we can't hope for a experiment or a change as big as moving your number three, who's
Yeah.
been the best batter at this spot for you forever, if you want to
Yeah.
put it that
And
way.
this is the
So
very reason I wanted Rohit and Kohli to play this series in the first place. Because that would have given
fair
you a
call,
good
fair call.
idea of how the 11 is stacking up. Because I mean,
Hmm.
as much as they say that they would want to give chances and all, I mean, 3 months before the World Cup is not a time for experimentation. You experiment as much as you want in T20 cricket, where the World Cup is 12 months away. But right now, ODIs, I mean, you only have a handful of ODIs. I think 4 or 5 ODIs in the Asia Cup, 3 against Australia. That's it. About 8 ODIs to prepare for the big tournament. So ideally, the proper 11 should be playing most of these 8 ODIs. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that ship has sailed. Uh,
yeah,
we have Mega back on. Bangalore internet is uh, supporting us again. There's
yeah,
one player that I really want us to talk about, and that is Umran Malik. Now, in the
Hmm.
last 2 games, collectively his economy is in the high sevens. His career economy is 6.5, and he's been dropped from this game. So, curtains in all likelihood, at least from the World Cup point of view, because if you think about it, if Umrah is back, he's a lock. Siraj is a lock. Shami is a lock.
yeah,
That means India can have only one more pacer in the 15 because you already have Hardik, and that one more
yeah.
spot is either between. In my opinion, it was always between either Shardul or Umran. But
Okay.
I mean, Unadkat, of course, but Unadkat is only playing now. I mean, he's not really
Yeah,
played ODI. If
yeah.
you want to pick one, you pick Shardul because he elongates your batting lineup
Batting
as well.
line.
So if Umran is not performing against West Indies in drop in this series as well, so curtains most likely.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's fair also, given whatever little we've seen of him. It feels again not wanting to be harsh or anything. I just feel it's the same in terms of we know he has pace. It's a
Yeah.
given. There's no doubt there. But with pace, I'm not saying have control, but you just want him to be a bit more, I'll not say disciplined, but you just feel that he in the IPL, maybe in a 4 over slot, you can use him as an enforcer. But in this format, maybe the batters also have a lot more time. And
Yeah.
if he's erratic at times, then it will not help his case. He's
Hmm.
a lot of time in hand because of his age. So you can groom him in terms of what is the role that you want him to play. Because
Hmm.
last game I really felt he could be a very handy person on that pitch because there was uneven bounce.
Yeah.
Shardul Thakur was just bowling in the line of the stumps and he was getting the uneven bounce and the lift. So somebody like an Umran, you'd want him to be part of the setup. But then in a low scoring chase also, I don't think you can afford having a guy who can bowl both sides of the wicket. So
Hmm.
in that regard, I think they tried to give him enough games, but he hasn't looked a part of it, which is okay. You have better paces, which is not a bad thing for Indian cricket. So because as we've discussed, I don't think they'll ever play three paces. It's most likely going to be two pacers, Hardik, and two spinners, in which is one is the all-rounder in Jadeja or Akshar Patel. So Kuldeep plays for sure. So I think
Yeah.
that way it gives them a handy option to rely that you still have a backup pacer ready.
Hmm.
That is in terms of Shami or Siraj to partner Bumrah.
So, in Umran's case, Somesh, taking your opinion further on the topic, now, don't you think it was more about what Umran could be than what he is at the moment and the dimension that he could add to the Indian bowling? Now, of course, with him not clicking, that really adds up and persisting at the moment wouldn't have made sense anyway.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you think about it, not a like for like comparison, but that's a similar case with Surya Kumar Yadav at the moment. It's more about
Yeah.
what he can be
Hmm.
and not what he is at the moment, especially when it comes to ODI cricket. But yeah, I mean, since Sky has been around for a while and all of us know what he can achieve, he'll continue to get chances. I mean, I absolutely see him in the 15, no matter what. But with Umran, yeah, I mean, the point is it's now too late to sort of keep giving him chances to ensure that he would be ready. I think even in the IPL, right? I mean, he takes wickets which
Yeah.
form the highlights package, but the point is he bowls in the cushy region of overs 7 to 15. Even I mean, 2023 season was forgetful for Imran Malik, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. 2022 is
Absolutely.
when he did well, but in that season he was never bowled in the power play and he was never bowled in the 10th. So
Hmm.
even then he was given that cushion. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just think that this is again the point where not allowing Indians to play overseas is hurting their development, because I think he might be too quick for your domestic players, but unless and
Yeah.
unless he goes out and plays in different conditions, different venues, and different against different players who might all be used to play such pace, he won't be able to hone his skills.
Hmm. Now, Sports Fan has been constantly talking about Prasidh Krishna. Now he's back in T20s. If he does well, do you think he can make it to the World Cup squad? Again, is there enough time for him to prove or whether he can value add in the World Cup squad? And are there options open, Nikhil?
Yeah, ideally you would have wanted him to get a bit more game time, but as unfortunate as it is that your primary setup of your ODIs has been injured for a while. So, but even then, if he does well in the lead up in the T20 that he plays against Ireland, and if he makes it to the Asia Cup and the subsequent ODIs against Australia, it is again a very good handy backup to have ready, because come the World Cup, even in 2011, you had to replace an Ashish Nehra. So
Yeah.
you have to have ready replacements who have had some bowling under them and are in good touch. So Prasidh Krishna was part of the plans. Last time he played West Indies, he did trouble
Hmm.
them with the
Hmm.
bounce that he got. So he is critical for India. And yeah, if he gets going, then people in form is always a better headache than having nobody in form and completely out of touch.
Hmm. Santosh is making a pretty pertinent point. Now, this is about the spinners. Yuzvendra Chahal, he believes, is not in reckoning at all, or he's asking us, Somesh, and apart from that as well. Now, of course, Akshar Patel, with the value add that he can bring with the bat, you'd be tempted to try him. But then again, unidimensional because you have Ravindra Jadeja and Akshar Patel value adding in a similar way when it comes to bowling. And then there is the option of Ravichandran Ashwin as well. So where I mean, how do things look, Somesh, when it comes to the spin options that India has at its disposal right now, and you think that India can carry to the Asia Cup and subsequently to the World Cup?
I mean, see, the point is about Chahal, right? If Kuldeep is playing, I don't see Chahal playing in the same 11 unless until Kuldeep is injured. It would be very tough to make a case for Yuzvendra Chahal at the moment, because there was a reason India moved on from the Kulcha combination in 2019 is because it lengthens your tail, because none of
Yeah.
your pacers can bat. You would at least be playing two of Shami, Siraj, and Bumrah, and then you'll have Kuldeep. So that means your 9, 10, 11 are not batting. So if your 8 is again Chahal or any other pacer, that means your batting just stops at 7. So as I see it, number 8 in all likelihood is going to be Shardul Thakur on wickets which are not very spin conducive, and Akshar Patel on wickets where there is some help for spin. Now, I'm really surprised that the Washington Sundar is not part of that setup, because if you say that Akshar Patel and Jadeja are both slow left-arm bowlers, then Washington Sundar would have been that extra,
Yeah.
point of difference. But now he's not in the reckoning. Uh, Again, I see a lot of comments where people say that Ashwin will come in, but if Ashwin is not playing this series, then I mean, he's not even in the squad. Then when is he coming back? That's the bigger question here. And Sundar won't be there because again, he's in the Asian Games squad. So if he's in the Asian Games squad, he won't win the World Cup. So maybe, I mean, it would be a very Indian cricket thing of including Ashwin directly in the World Cup squad. It can happen. It's a little bizarre that there is no off spinner in the team, to be honest. And I would be much more comfortable if there is someone who can bat at 8, either of Aksar, Shardul, or Ashwin. But having said that, that will severely dent India's bowling. Given that Hardik is not bowling that much, and India would be left with 6 bowling options. One of them would be Hardik, and one of them would be a number 8 who's not your potent wicket taker, so to speak.
Just pretty mind-boggling, the options and the permutations and combinations that exist when it comes to spinners, spin options for the World Cup, and each of those contentions have their merit. But Nikhil, where do you stand, and what are your justifications for whichever player you're backing?
See, as if we've talked about it like enough in terms of, I hope there aren't sudden inclusions, because it's not good for anybody, even the player or the management, to then justify it in any which way that okay, because it's not suddenly that you realize that you don't have an off spinner. It's been part of the problem since a while now. And the thing also that Somesh said that you want people to play in their role in this format longer. It's also one of the causes of the scheduling, that if it's a T20 year, you don't play ODIs only. If it's
Yeah.
an ODI World Cup year, you're playing. So all of this does play a part in terms of you giving, because if it's an ODI year, you want to rest the T20 guys, and if it's T20 year, you want to rest the ODI guys. So that's the reason why Rohit, Virat, and Siraj are not playing this series. So overall, there needs to be a better, I don't know, plan, scheduling. So it's something we discussed in how to fix Indian cricket, that playing 3 ODIs now and 5 T20s in
Yeah.
this year makes no sense at all. But
Hmm.
if you had 5 ODIs, you could have tried Samson more. You could have given Prasidh Krishna games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even
I'm,
after
I'm,
these,
I'm actually not against playing T20s against West Indies because there is a World Cup here 12 months down the line. If there not have been a World Cup in West Indies, then I would have been losing,
but the
my
problem is
senses. Why are they playing it? Yeah.
you are playing a year earlier. So
Yeah.
by the time, my only issue is you need to play people in that format in that year to get them in that rhythm during that phase of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
People could perform here, and then by the time they get their chances next year, the form would have deserted them. Then it makes no sense, because they did well then, but they are not in form now. So, but again, that's uncontrollable in Indian cricket terms. So, whoever plays, just give them consistent run in whichever role they are playing, and not have random generators during the event, because we've suffered from that enough. Injuries, it's not in your hand, but hopefully, otherwise, it should be what it is so far.
In that context, probably last year made more sense because you had a lot of T20Is in the build up to the World Cup. Of course, there were ODIs as well, but
But none of them in Australia and none of them
yeah,
against England.
yeah.
So
Australia
I mean,
touring India.
yeah, but
You
I mean,
see
the
that?
World Cup was in Australia. India were not
Yeah.
playing T20s in Australia at all. England are hot favorites. India were not preparing themselves for playing against England. So I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? Numbers won't justify. You're just saying that you're playing a lot of games. I mean, those numbers should have context. I mean, what's the point of having a series against Ireland and having someone score
Yeah.
100 and then you selecting that chap for the World Cup squad?
With the 5-match ODI, rather T20I series, you see the Freudian slip. I want a 5-match ODI series, 5-match T20I series to start. You never know. Some names from there might
Yeah.
just be like waving
And
and
we won't even know, we don't even know who's captain of India's T20 team for the next World Cup.
yet. Absolutely. Well, then we know for now where we stand because we have to wrap up this show. The Indian openers would be soon out in the center. As of now, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining. And thanks to all those who are tuned in, who have been commenting. We'll be back again after the game with our analysis, with our review show, and be waiting for your questions, your responses, and analysis as well. As of now, thanks for joining.